they watched their fathers and uncles being arrested, their parents' property being taken by the FBI, and their own movements restricted by curfew laws. As they observed these events taking place, they felt their worlds changing.
I remember when Pearl Harbor was on a Sunday that evening, and my brother says, "You know what? You're going to have to give up all your friends, your majority of your close friends." I said, "Why?" He said, "You will probably be asked to leave."
Continuing their everyday activities was difficult. Even going to school was tense and uncomfortable. Listen as one Nisei woman tells about going to school on Monday, December 8, 1941.
I was in high school. I was a junior in high school. And there was an all-school assembly that we had to go into the auditorium to sit. And it was very icy, as if we were the ones that caused it. It was very icy. That's how it was. And I think we listened to President Roosevelt's speech when we went into the auditorium. And so there was a hush, and it was hard to go to school.
One of the most striking responses to the Pearl Harbor bombing was the reaction of the Chinese community. Fearing that they would be grouped with the Japanese because of their looks, Chinese people set about distinguishing themselves from the Japanese.
One of the girls said she went to Garfield High School every day with a Chinese girlfriend. The day of Pearl Harbor, on December 8, she refused to have anything to do with her, and she wore "I am a Chinese" button because she felt so threatened.
After the Pearl Harbor attack, people of Japanese ancestry were seen as potential traitors and threats to military security. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which targeted the Japanese by requiring them to leave their homes, businesses, and possessions on the West Coast and move inland. Although the United States was also at war with Germany and Italy, German Americans and Italian Americans on the West Coast were not required to move. Listen as one Caucasian woman recalls the rationalization for this difference in treatment.
Well, I know during the World War II there was a lot of prejudice against Germans, but the thing is that they looked more like, they were Caucasians, whereas Japanese were Orientals and their look stood out. And besides, Germany didn't declare war on us at the time, whereas Japan did. So that made a difference, didn't it?
National security became more important than civil rights. The exclusion and internment of people of Japanese ancestry was accepted because it seemed vital to national security.
Oh, we heard about that, yes. And we accepted that. At least I did. I could see that it's terrible to happen. But I bought the president's fireside message. Terrible thing to do, but we have to do it. It's national security, and we can't take any chances.
Because the U.S. feared an attack on the West Coast, it was only Japanese living on the coast who were targeted for internment. Those who lived far enough inland were allowed to stay in their homes. They were not considered a high security risk. Washington State was divided into 3 military zones. The Columbia River was the dividing line between the 2 zones which people of Japanese ancestry had to leave and the zone where they were allowed to remain.
The state of Washington was broken into 3 zones. The Zone 1 was here to the Cascades, and Zone 2 was from the east Cascades to Moses Lake, and Zone 3 was east of there. So if you were in Zone 3, why, you were free to go in any place east of there, clear across the country. Wapato and Yakima were included in Zone 2, so those people down there had to move. They were interned.